So we stand in front of Dollar Tree, and basically,
such as this thing here.
all right, I'm excited to have a guest.
Look, the metal right here, of course, everyone is.
Cuba is like they're under a dictator.
All right, we are live for a Wednesday edition of the People's Talk Show. And as always, excited to connect midweek. This is my third day in a row of live streaming. Kind of got my juices back a little bit. So looking forward to connecting as always and sharing my 2 cents on what's happening. And more importantly, connecting with you guys and finding out what you guys are keeping your eyes on, as well as it says here, going through some of today's headlines and just sharing with you things that caught my attention. And so beyond concerns about the banks, which is picking up, just saw a release that the BTFP will be canceled in March. That's going to be some liquidity problems for the banks. Then what else? We got the invasion in the Middle East. We're officially at war with excursions in Iraq and Yemen. And so, yeah, what else is going on here? We got more manipulation in the metals market, more euphoria over the ETF game. It just goes on and on. Never a dull moment. And we'll love to find out what you guys are keeping an eye on. So feel free in the chat or when the phone lines open up to let me know what you guys are keeping your eyes on so we can try to just make sense of everything and talk ourselves through these things. And of course, look for opportunities in between. And so, yeah, let's dive right in, man. So as always, let me give it a second. Hopefully more people are notified. Trying to be more consistent, 9 p.m.-ish, and hoping that helps more people plug in if they can. But as always, more people tend to watch the replay the next day, I guess due to the time or whatever. But anyway, appreciate you for blessing with your presence. As always, definitely feel free to leave thoughts, comments, ideas in the chat or in the comment section. I'll try to get to them when I can. And what else? I got, let me see here. I got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 tabs open. May not get to all of them, but I'll definitely focus on the most important ones, I think, heading into March-ish, which happens to be about the banks. And yeah, so we got Jay checking in. We got low blood pressure, parlay broker. What else we got here? We got from Yashaba checking in as well. We got Daryl checking in, Bonnie checking in, Demetra checking in as well. Peace. All right, man. Appreciate you. And so for those who have not checked in with us via chat, take a minute. Let us know where you're watching from. The goal is to definitely be able to connect a lot of us together via just the chat at worst case scenario, or if you call in, or if you do face to face. Just would love to be able to connect with each other and basically just get to know each other a little bit better. So don't be shy. Definitely reach out in the chat and let me know where you're watching from. Any first time viewers, as always, you're welcome to let me know what's going on. All right. So what else we got going on here? Okay. So let me, before I move forward, let me just try to play with some artwork, some graphics or whatever on my end here, just to make things look a little bit more professional and sharp. But if you guys have not, definitely hit the thumbs up button, show your love for the channel, as well as make sure you subscribe on YouTube with the bell notification, as well as follow on Rumble, and make sure you click that notification as well, so we can always stay plugged in. And let me just, what else I got going on here? Yeah, just working on my stuff here. So, okay, I don't want to waste your guys' time, and I want to make sure I get into some, get some calls in and maybe get some face-to-face. So as you guys can see, when the phone lines open up and we actually get to the face-to-face, I already put the link beneath this video here so you can tap it, plug in for a quick minute, share some thoughts. So far in doing this, got a couple people to, step up to the plate and let their presence be felt. And it's always appreciated to be able to speak to people directly face-to-face. It's better than just a voice out in the wind, but I'll take whatever I can get. All right, let me just start wasting time. Let's get to the nitty-gritty. All right, so as always, I want to make sure I big up my people at forpatriots.com/RTD when it comes to emergency preparedness. And so if you guys click the link down in the description here, it'll take you to this page here. We get a chance to see the most latest deals. They're always updating things, and it just gives you a chance to see what they offer. And if it's of interest, feel free to have at it. They have a variety and assortment of foods of different formats, from the packs to cans. I'm actually going to put some stuff on the shelf so you guys can see what I'm talking about. They got the coolers, the all types of gadgets or whatever, all designed to help you prepare for whatever might come in the future, because you never know when stuff might jump off. And they also have the 2,000 watt solar generator for those who are interested. Feel free to check them out. Just an option for those who might be looking for some sustainable devices to protect yourself in worst case scenario. So, okay, let's jump right at it, man. Okay, so I'm gonna just jump right in what caught my attention. And so earlier today, just skimming through the social media sphere, I came across this interesting article here. And what stood out to me is not only, I think it was Monday night, I talked about the issues content creators are having with social media and how literally social media has changed drastically. And before I get into this article here, just to let you know what else, content creators are facing. So right now on every mainstream platform, the primary ones, TikTok, or not TikTok, but IG, Facebook, YouTube, and there's another one. They're all basically making it optional now, but mandatory that every content creator verify with their ID. So literally, I've been on these platforms for a decade now, but all of a sudden now they want me to scan my picture and give them proof of this, proof of that, as a part of getting me into the digital world that I'm already in, but they want to know exactly who I am. And they're putting this into play, in my opinion, well before this summer, when they're going to make it mandatory, because this presidential cycle, they're going to make sure they want to know who and where everybody's logging in from, even though they know my IP address and everything in between. And so if you don't verify, you will be censored. And that's why the channel has grown stagnant on top of other things. But most people aren't notified because I'm not verified. So they're not going to promote me or push me or allow me to have free reign on their platform. And it's a way of them restricting me. So every other platform I'm on right now, except Rumble, has put a clamp on your boy. So just so you guys know, this is what I'm facing on my end. But back to this article here. All right, let me just come in just a little bit here. It says ECB asks some lenders to monitor social media for early signs of bank runs. And so it's just January 24th on this article here. The ECB, they're already in a recession. And so what we're going to experience is more pressure from the monetary forces that try to go through the commercial banks, which is what this is about, to make sure they're in contact with social media platforms so that they can track and trace and see in real time what people are sharing on social media. And as of right now, the biggest hiccup, what appears to be the biggest hiccup in their plans, is utilizing Twitter, now known as X, because Elon Musk is playing hardball and not complying with a lot of the regulatory frameworks in the ECB. But if it's happening in the ECB, you better believe it's coming to the U.S. sooner than later, especially with this presidential cycle coming up. And so what does that mean? That means less of the ability to share your free thought and utilize free speech on all these platforms, because anything that comes across the internet at this current moment belongs to either a publicly traded company or it belongs to a private entity that has the right, through their terms of use and service, can literally close down anything that resembles truth for their own agenda. And you better believe they're doing it. And it's going to really rack up in this upcoming spring and summer because of this presidential cycle being the last of its kind. I'll leave it at that. But real quick, I'll thumb through this and get to as many headlines as I can so you guys can call in and let your voice be heard. So I want to make sure I want to pay special attention to this because there's a lot of interesting things here. But bear with me. It says the European Central Bank has asked some banks to closely monitor activity on social media to detect a worsening in sentiment, which could lead to a deposit run, says two bank executives with knowledge of the request told Reuters. European regulations have sharpened scrutiny of banks' liquidity after the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and Credit Suisse in March of last year. The people said requesting anonymity due to the discussions are private. So scrutiny of banks' liquidity. The banks are insolvent. They're underwater. They don't have enough deposits in relation to their total debt outstanding to where they are literally hemorrhaging. And then that plays into the BTFP, what we're going to talk about in a second, because literally it looks like the Fed is pulling the plug on purpose. And you better believe it won't just stop here in the U.S. It's already trembling over there. It says here, bank runs into financial trouble if clients rush to pull deposits at the same time. because they're not there. In October 2022, a social media post from a journalist saying that a, quote, major international investment bank is on the brink led to a run on Credit Suisse. So they're basically saying because of a post, they're blaming it on the post. How about the fact that the fraudulent scam was exposed, no matter how it was exposed, whether it was through an actual social media post or it was just a matter of the fact that people were realizing that what was happening in the U.S. could happen in Europe. So they tested Credit Suisse. And of course, Credit Suisse was exposed for being, basically insolvent. And it says here, with clients withdrawing more than 100 billion Swiss francs or $116 billion by the end of the fourth quarter of that year. Said the speed at which clients yank deposits has triggered a debate globally. So this is just not a European thing. All banks, and especially the too big to fail banks, are now trying to work around some things. And there's even talk of new regulation coming into play due to the lack of capital restrictions that were removed in 2020. So the banks are still, it's not being talked about on mainstream news really. But it says under the current regulation, institutions can withstand sudden liquidity shocks. And so I would be more truthful. Institutions cannot withstand sudden liquidity shocks and whether new rules might be needed. So literally, liquidity shock will take place after March if the Fed follows through with what they are talking about doing. Then it says here in March, the EBA, an independent European agency which carries out work in banking and financial sector, called on relevant regulators to assess risk, including social media, that could contribute to a deterioration in the public perception and reputation of the institution. So basically, because people are waking up to the fact that the banking system is a scam and a fraud, that they're insolvent, there's nothing there, they're now panicking. And so they're saying that to contribute to a deterioration in public perception and reputation in institutions, the cat's out the bag. And last March, what happened in this country here, exposed the fact that there's problems. So social media accounts will be monitored heavily in Europe, and it's good to say here as well. And don't be surprised if stuff get flagged or your account get deleted or there's a mysterious hack or a cyber event that comes along with that. So, okay, so that's just the social media side of things. Keep an eye on that. And while I'm at it, let's get right to the more important things. Let me just make sure I got so many tabs open. Bear with me here. I got so many tabs open. Let me get myself together here because I got too many tabs open. And let me get my next tab. Give me 1 second here. Ooh, that's a good article. Good article. I got some good ones here today. Actually, let me shoot. Man, I didn't even grab it. Let me. What was I doing? Yep. Give me 1 second. Excuse me. As always, for those who are plugged in, definitely let me know what's on your radar. Talk amongst yourselves in the chat. Don't let this good time go to waste. All right, so I just went to Twitter sphere and typed in the latest here because I didn't have a chance to actually. But this literally is somewhat fresh off the press. Let me just open up my screen here so I can show you what I'm looking at here. Okay, so you just I just typed in BTFP, and with that, I'm able to see what's happening in the news right now. So let me scroll down here. Let's get right into it. So this is as of literally about an hour and a half ago, which was released at 7 p.m. today from the Federal Reserve. So this is a highlight of the official Federal Reserve documentation here. And if I can move my screen over just a tad bit, let me go so I can read what I'm looking at here. So, because this plays into the banking sector, it's all interconnected. Everything revolves around keeping confidence in the banking sector. Once that goes, all hell breaks loose. Okay, it says, this is from Eric. Let me just see who this guy is here. He's a founder, got 100,000 followers, EBPF Research. So, he followed heavily. So I'll take him at his word. It says here, the Fed announced the bank term funding program will cease making new loans on March 11th. The interest rates on the new BTFP loans has been adjusted so that the rate on new loans from now on, from through the program expiration will be no lower than the interest rates on reserve balances, correct move. So here we have BTFP at its current nature being ended. And then moving forward, they're going to lower the rates so that there's no arbitrage opportunities for the big banks to basically borrow from this program here, then park it at the Fed, make that little bit of a spread like they've been doing for the last year, or almost a year rather. So what did this mean? This means that now the liquidity spigot will be turned off for the regional banks, the smaller banks, the ones that are currently experiencing the most difficulties due to the commercial real estate crisis is underway right now, on top of all the other, credit card delinquencies, car payments, all the debt that was basically taken out during the happy-go-lucky times of there being unlimited funds, low interest rate borrowing periods. All that debt now is coming due. And so the banks that benefited most from the BTFP were the smaller regional mom and pop banks, because the GSIBs, they're the ones that parked all their funds during the times of plenty, i.e. stimulus times, into the reverse repo situation, which also will be pretty much drained by Marches. So where has all the capital gone, and then where will the new capital come into play? And that's where the likelihood of some type of event occurring between now and March that will force the Federal Reserve to say everything was fine. The banks were liquefied. The BTFP was about to come to an end. The reverse repo was still had funds in it. But then this event happened to where we needed to reverse course and now pivot and slash and cut rates. And here we go again, QE. So literally, they're laying a framework saying that things are fine when actually they're panicking, in my opinion, behind the scenes, just because everybody realizes that, the damage has been done. And so with this BTFP now basically been halted, that means no mom and pops banks, smaller banks, been able to get access to capital, even though they're still underwater. Interest rates are still extremely high. And then the GSIBs have benefited the most off of that little arbitrage spread I talked about there. But then again, they're also the most liquefied, just because they're sitting on trillions upon trillions of dollars. And the GSIBs are the shareholders of the Federal Reserve, so they're going to always be fine. So what would I do? It's going to cause more of the regional, smaller banks, probably those banks that are under the, not considered GSIB or more, is I think the criteria was 500 billion or more, put you in that systemic risk category. But if you were 300, 200 or lower, you were able to not be considered a threat to the global economy. And now that I'm thinking about it, give me 1 second here. Let me find my, it's been a minute. Bank. Let me see here. Here we go. Okay. All right. So real quick here, since I got my thoughts flowing somewhat freely, so this just came to mind here. I talked about this when everything kind of broke loose with the banking situation last spring. And so this is just a chart here of the top 20 banks in the U.S. and U.S. total assets. So JP Morgan Chase is number one with 3.3 trillion. So these are all the systemically important banks here. Then you get down here. Where was Silicon Valley was 212. Then we had First Republic Bank was 198. Huntington Bank's 178. So literally the bottom tier of these here, which were below the 300-ish, are the ones that are definitely taking advantage of the BTFP. And if that ends, what will they do? Because the problems are even greater than they were then. So, yeah, if the emergency program was set up to keep confidence literally for that 1 year window, nothing's changed. It's only gotten worse. So what do they see, or what are they planning for that the rest of the world will be forced to find out about? So we will see. Okay, let's keep it moving. I see people trying to check in on the face-to-face. Not doing that right now. And only way I'll have you on face-to-face is if I see your face. So just a little heads up. So hold off until the invitation is extended. Okay, here's another interesting article that plays into the current crises that we're facing as well as the rest of the world. It says soft landing means top 1% gets record stock prices while you get stuck with inflation, analyst says. So whatever this landing scenario that they're trying to play out and use as a narrative to, I guess, determine how the economy moves forward or doesn't, the beneficiaries have already taken chips off the table. We talked about that before. Every Uber billionaire that's a part of the big seven that's propping up the entire equities market. You got the FANG stocks, you got Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, all those companies, all the people they took some chips off the table. So they took the chips off the table to build the bunkers and buy everything else they need for what they probably were told is coming. Maloney Investments. Appreciate you, man. Let me appreciate the love there. It says here, Mike, have you heard of the Phoenix event coming in 2040? It happens every 138 years. The caller from Oakland spoke on it the other day, but don't think he knew he was speaking of the Phoenix event. Outside of the solar flare information that, TB, the person you're referring to, mentioned, I don't dive too deep into it. So feel free, if it's in line with that type of stuff there, feel free to add more to it so we can all be informed, just because I don't have a chance to follow that. So educate me more. But the solar flare stuff, according to what's been shared with us, definitely a real event on top of the other events that humanity faces. So, but appreciate you, and feel free when the phone lines open to call me and, educate me a little bit. Okay, real quick, I'll thumb through this. It says, whatever. I'm not, yeah, okay. So, but I just kind of share my 2 cents on that. Let's keep it moving. Okay, real quick, go through just more headlines, man, and then we'll get to the phone lines. It says China unexpectedly cuts required reserve ratio in desperate bid to contain their market collapse. And so once again, coming from the West, we got to take this with a grain of salt, even though these metrics here indicate that there has been a lot of cutting. It says required reserve ratio for most banks, for small banks, and for commercial banks. So clearly, here in the U.S., banks, the too big to fail banks, or banks here cut the reserve ratios in 2020, and it looks like they pretty much didn't cut, but they're cutting now. So as we're witnessing here, the goal is basically to free up more capital so that it can be put to good use to prop up the stock market that's crashing. So will it work? Don't know. A lot of people say that the Chinese banking crisis, stock market crisis, has a lot to do with Trump and the likelihood of him being reelected again. And if he's reelected again, he's going to go hardball on China like he did during his term, which is not going to be good for business there, because he's going to be America first policy, which means that China gets less business. He'll put taxes, tariffs, all the stuff he did when he was in office. So people saying that the market's reacting to that preemptively. So I don't believe it one bit. So anyway, I could just go through. There was the last one. This is a different article. But it says here the cut was announced unexpectedly by the People Bank of China Governor Pan Gongxian during a press conference on Wednesday in Beijing, and sends a signal that the officials are eager to curb the stock market sell-off while also stepping up support for the broader economy. So basically, if the banks don't have to hold as much, they can put more out and make more loans and stuff like that to get the juices flowing or get the wheels turning, as if that's going to really keep this thing going. And so the crazy part, not crazy part, because you guys know, but just to think, like, if no new currency is created, like, continuously, all they're forced with is trying to deal with and reshuffle the deck of cards they have now to deal with the current problems that have been taken out during times of ease. So now they're trying to play catch up to maintain current economic standards when you can't do it because the debt has already been extinguished and utilized and taken out, and it's time to pay the interest now and the capital and the principal back on some of that, which requires new currency. So it's like you're going to always need new currency to pay off the old debts, because a debt don't come into existence unless somebody sign a signature, which is the currency that's been brought into existence. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Definition of a Ponzi scheme. And then here's another little article here to just highlight more on what's happening. It said Fed rate hikes have made borrowing greenbacks costlier and push more firms to de-dollarize, a think tank says. So I'm thinking, do you really need to be a part of a think tank to realize that hiking rates makes the dollar more earnest on other nations, therefore putting pressure on their currencies, forcing their issues, which requires them to take out more debt in dollar terms, Would not put everybody in a booby trap type of situation where you would definitely want to figure out ways to get it from underneath the boot of the dollar. But it says here, Fed hikes cycle has made dollar credit more expensive and scarcer. Chinese yuan has benefited the most, given that its borrowing costs are considered lower. That's why they're trying to spread the yuan everywhere, and other nations are willing to take it, especially now the IMF put it in the basket to where it's acceptable as a alternative medium of exchange because it's a part of the seven Dixie basket currency. So it says for the first time in 2 decades, it's considerably cheaper to pursue short-term borrowing in the yuan than in the greenback. So just the fact that the way that the U.S. has responded with this current debt cycle, inflation, fighting, whatever, QT methods has basically put more of a spotlight on the yuan to where that kind of plays into why other nations are willing to take out loans in the yuan because it allows them to pay off their debts and to buy dollars to then go further into debt. Anyway, yeah, you can't make this stuff up, man. Just more interesting stories here. It says Fed should stop quantitative tightening, reduce interest rates soon, Bill Gross says. So he went on to talk about just the unsustainable course the U.S. is on. And if it was up to him, I would stop quantitative tightening, the co-founder and former CIO of Pacific Investment Management said on Bloomberg Tuesday when asked what he would do differently if he were leading the Fed. He said, that is just not a correct philosophy and the policy at this point in time to continue tightening quantitatively. Gross added that the central bank should lower rates over the next 6 to 12 months. And so, yeah, I'll leave that alone. But a billionaire coming out basically saying what he would do. Stop QT, go back to QE. We can't do QE forever. We can't make currency cheap forever. It already destroys what little bit of purchasing power is left. So that's the system, though. And then here's another little something from Dave Kranzler here. And this has to do with the activity in the gold market today. And so what Dave Kranzler, what he mentioned was, as you guys can see here, it says that Asian markets was opening up. And of course, the price of gold went along with it. And then, of course, early AM in the morning over here, the Comex opens and look what happens. A slam down. And so this is basically what is reflected on this little chart right here. Let me go back here with the gold activity day. And we're going to see activity like this for quite some time. We got up to 2035. And then, of course, 844, 930, Crimex, boom, down to, what was that, 2012. So that $20 mark just looks so steep, doesn't it? But that's just the world we're in. And I'm more than convinced now, man, for some reason that regardless of what market conditions look like, how fraudulent the numbers we've been given really are, as I say before, gold and silver, man, they can't let it go. And so it's one of them things where, as a person who encourages people to get their weight up, I also can understand how now and in the next couple months, even years, it could be very challenging for people to continue to accumulate, and the world around them is changing due to higher CPI figures, which is definitely going to be coming, and everything else, to where you're looking at real sound money that is not responding in accordance to the issues the world is facing, to where you can be discouraged, dip into your insurance policy sooner, or just stop altogether and say, to hell with it. You know what I'm saying? Let me go ahead and, especially if they cut rates, I mean, they're going to reallocate capital, easy money, debt going to go up. You're going to be tempted to go jump into stuff to ride that train up as well. But realizing whatever is going up after this pivot is coming, it's a reflection that the currency is just being destroyed that much faster. So just stick with it, hold your horses. Everything in the end, monetarily speaking, will reflect very positively. But between now and the end, gold and silver ain't going nowhere. I'd be very surprised if they allow it to break, or there to be some cracks in the manipulation process, futures, the banks, the vaults, or whatever. they're gonna find a way to keep their foot on it. But then again, the banks do want Bitcoin, the ETF, to pop. So just a little hint there. What will pop first? You know what I'm saying? No financial advice here, but just if you know where they want the funds to flow, hopefully you are ahead of the rush. That's just my opinion. Okay, I'm rambling too much. Let me get to a couple more articles, man, and then I'll open the phone lines up. Yeah, so here's another little interesting story here. U.S. commercial real estate is suffering one of the steepest price declines in at least half a century, the IMF warns. So who's the issuer of all this basically non-performing debt that's been taken out to further expand the American way of life through credit? It's the regional banks, the smaller banks, the mom and pop commercial credit union type banks that took all the risk. And then they're cutting off the spigot to the BTFP in March. Literally, that's going to stranglehold more banks. So expect more chaos. And it won't be stuck. It just won't stop in the commercial real estate side of things. The downtown areas are already empty. A lot of places. You better believe it's going to spill out into the residential side of things, because the people who used to work downtown and all these buildings that are now empty, who may have the work at home type opportunities, employers are laying off like crazy. And let me just share some. Since I'm here now, let me share some figures with you if I can. Yeah, so here's another little side note. So a lot of these companies here, they bought and own, possess skyscrapers, buildings, an assortment of properties where they used to house employees. But due to conditions of this nature, they're laying off drastically. So empty buildings means less profit, means default, which means restructuring, which means companies feeling pressure from shareholders, because shareholders come before loyalty to employees and everybody else. That means more downsizing, more unemployment. Unemployment means more pressure on people being able to pay their mortgages within the residential side of things. And we're going to have more of a hiccup. So the domino just do, 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 do. Those are the type of conditions we're facing. Layoff announcement in 2024 so far. This is from Geneva Roach, CFA. I follow her. She's pretty knowledgeable with hers. It says Twitch cuts 35%, Unity Software 25%, Brex 20%, Discord 17%, Wayfair 13%, Rio Games 11%, Duolingo 10%, Rent the Runway 10%. We got eBay cut 9%, BlackRock 3%, Citigroup cuts 20,000 roles. I think it's over 2 years. Google cuts 1,000. Amazon cuts several hundred roles on top of them adding in the robots and stuff like that. So, all this stuff is interconnected. All this stuff is interconnected. It's all interconnected. No way to avoid it. Commercial real estate leads to more layoffs and residential, yada, yada, yada. Okay. On the political front, real quick. It looks like the New Hampshire, overwhelmingly Trump. But what is Nikki Haley doing? What does she think she's doing? So clearly, she's not actually participating on behalf of the GOP for whatever that's worth, because she's sticking with it. And it says here, 70% of Nikki Haley voters are not registered Republicans. So literally, she's in cahoots with the other side, because they're coming over to support her, which is allowing her to continue to think that she's going to actually go another state. I think South Carolina's next, and actually be a contestant to show up against Trump. And apart from the fact she has the backings of all the NGOs, the banks, and a lot of people from the East that would love to see her just basically just make it appear as if like the American people will actually support her because of what she stands for. But one thing that came to my mind about this whole political charades just with the GOP is that literally she's a paid shield that this upcoming South Carolina, like more than likely, if she sticks around, she's obviously funded by people who want her to stick around just to throw a wrench in the plans and the smooth sailing that Trump would have. But literally, don't be surprised if they somehow sneak her a win in one of these states that she's going to be continue to try to run in. And they're going to try to make it look like, it's coming down on the GOP. Trump 3 states, she got 2 states. Oh, it's going to be a tie. Just bread and circus, like 313 Wayne said last night. Like literally, like it's all about the bread, man. Whoever's funding her is keeping her in this, and they're keeping her to basically just mess with Trump, whatever that's worth. Okay, truckers convoy heads to Texas to put a stop to Biden's border madness. So this is from Representative Keith Self. Keith Self, let me find out more about him. Proudly serving Texas 3rd Congressional District. He tweeted, there will be a take our border back multi-day trucker convoy from the January 29th to February 3rd. Routes will end at Eagle Pass, Texas, Yuma, Arizona, and San Ysidro, California. So the truckers are going to be back at it again. So you better believe whenever there's a gathering of like-minded people that goes against the grain, they're going to be infiltrated with 3-letter agency paid shills to basically make it look like I can't even say it, but you know what happened in January in 2020, and all the stuff that came from that can happen at any one of these events that good intentioned Americans have at trying to just gather freely, peacefully, to let their voice be heard. They're going to be infiltrated every single time. You can believe that. All right. Let's keep it going. All right, let's keep it going. What else we got here? Okay, let me get to one or two more articles here. What time are we looking at? Oh, we had 36 minutes. Okay, so yeah, I may not get to any more articles. Let me see if there's anything else I needed to make sure I touched on. I think I touched on everything that I need to touch on, because I hate when here's another good one. Give me a second here. This is another good one. Arizona. So last night I played a little sound, or I meant to play the sound bite. I'm assuming you guys all probably heard it. But we got the chairman of the GOP, Jeff, basically in a room with Kari Lake, and basically trying to bribe her, talking about people from the East would love to see you. Just take a pause, sit back. We'll make sure you're compensated. We'll take care of you. Then she was like, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to stop and fight for our country. They're going to kill me, yada, yada, yada. So it looks like Arizona GOP chair resigns over leaked audio revealing attempt to bribe Kari Lake not to run for Senate. And so once again, if you listen to that, this resignation here basically confirms that he was officially trying to bribe her. And the 3 or 4 things that was mentioned in there is enough to really, if we had an honest, true rule of law that we could actually trust, but you can't trust nobody at this time. Unfortunately, no agencies, nobody's real. Just going to like call this man on the carpet and just try him for treason. Like literally, like he's working for people in the East, and he's trying to pay a potential candidate to not run. To me, that's like some treasonous type, punishable by death penalty type stuff. But then again, I'm not a law type of person, but it just goes to show that there are people from the East with big pockets that is running the show, and we're not gonna hear much else about it. So, okay, that's all she wrote. All right, man. Let's get into it, man. So let's get to some calls. I'm gonna open the phone lines, and also I see that as you guys can see, there's a number. Give your boy a call, and let me see here. I had somebody waiting on me. I'll see if they come back in a minute. But in the meantime, feel free to share thoughts, ideas, suggestions in the chat, and we can make it work, man. We can make it work. Yeah, just lots of things out here, man. The banking situation, I think, come March, man, like heading to spring, it's just stuff to keep an eye on. It's stuff to keep an eye on. And as always, everybody knows that beyond that threshold of $250,000, you're like, that you stand to lose everything. And then even underneath that, outside of being restricted on how much you can get out if something happens, like literally, like just based upon what happens in other countries, especially in Cyprus back in 2013, where bail ends. Like, what is considered yours is really theirs. And if it's a scramble to liquefy the banks, which will be a problem because they're cutting off the spigot come March with the BTFP with those loans, there could this could be a chance of a liquidity issue to where the banks need to reliquify their balance sheets with creditor deposits. And then that would lead to restrictions on what you can have. And even if you read the Dodd-Frank bailout procedures, the Treasury, I think, and another entity will help resolve those issues by giving depositors shares into the restructuring of the banks with a little bit of cash on top. So you're gonna get more shares in the banks that failed than you will probably your own cash. So that's another possibility as well. Okay, let's talk. Hello, Carlos. Oops. Hello.
Hey, Mike, it's Troy from OKC.
Troy, what's going on, my friend? Give me some good news. You there? Hello? Uh-oh. Should be good to go. Everything on my end is good. You there? All right, give me a call back. Hello, Carlos. Where you calling from? Man, am I not good? What's going on here? Give me something. Everything looks good on my end, people. Hello? Hello? All right, let me get to LBP. Give me something quick, man. What's going on with you? How you doing?
Hey, look, I got rats in my house, Mike. Look.
You got a rat? That's your dog?
Yeah, look at that. I got rats in my house, Mike.
What's going on with you, man?
Can see it. There you go. Hey, Mike. Hey, can you hear me clearly?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Hey, how you gonna do bank runs when no one's got money in the bank, Mike?
hey, they wouldn't be open still if people wouldn't having their checks deposited there. So the people who are working, they got automatic deposit. That was a part of the game that was switched up 10, 15 years ago. So them checks still flow into the bank. So whoever's employed, more than likely got some type of automatic deposit. So those people are the ones who may not be able to get access to their cash.
Mike, as soon as it gets in there, it's out. You know, like my paycheck lasts about 2 seconds in there.
Oh man, and that happens for a lot of people. Yeah, so that's just What else going on with you, man?
Not much, Mike. Just trying to survive here. Waiting for the end, Mike. It never comes. I'm getting frustrated. I'm gonna vote Biden. I'm gonna vote Biden. I want dollar destroyed, and I want everything to go. You know where? So I think about voting Biden.
You're gonna vote Biden and speed it up, huh?
Yeah, Mike. I'm getting too impatient right now.
Hey, man. Like I always say, you know what I'm gonna say, man. Like I'm in no rush to get to where they want this to go because it ain't gonna be pretty. It ain't gonna be pretty. So, like as I mentioned before, like right now is considered good times, and compared to where things could be if Klaus Schwab and his buddies succeed in their agenda. You know what I'm saying?
Let me talk to you about that. I listened to Malay in Spanish because I speak Spanish, and I understood everything he said. And then there was another guy. He was there. Like, I don't know if it was a fake video, or was real. And then he had a black eye the next day. He was punking everybody. And then the next day he had a black eye. Did you see that guy?
No. What was his name?
I don't know. I don't remember, Mike. I just saw like 2 clips. So I don't know if it was a guy just making fun of it or it looked like it was a legit video. But anyways, what do you think of all that? Is that controlled opposition or are they for real? Are they really going to do something? I'm iffy about it.
So explain to me again, once again, like the guys you're talking about. What was it about? What was it? Give me the totality of everything. Because I heard what you said about what
Okay, well, Malay, you know, the president of Argentina.
Yeah.
He was in Spanish. He sounded like that. He sounded like Ron Paul, you know, to the 10th power, you know.
Yes.
And he was rubbing it into their face. You know, they're rubbing their noses in it. But I don't know. Why would they let that guy even talk?
So it could be multiple things. Political theater, as far as like, he's a new guy in the club, and they want to court him to join their agenda. So what we saw was a 23-minute, speech, which sounded very patriotic, libertarian, everything between, because he listed and explained the problems verbatim throughout history. It's a fact. The state is a problem. Okay, but now he's a part of the state. So by him being over there, you better believe when he got off stage and the night parties they had, the night meetings they had, where he sat down with all the other globalist guys and they try to talk some sense into him. We'll see if he stick to his guns or if it was just show, because definitely got a lot of people excited. Oh, he sounds like Ron Paul in Spanish. Okay, but once again, look at the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, one guy can't change the world. So, there's too much. They stand to lose too much by letting Argentina go backwards to sound money or give them options as far as legal tender, whether it be Bitcoin, gold, silver, whatever. They're not willing to lose that one country because that'll just slow them down. So I'm very skeptical of Milei, but then again, I'm hopeful that he's legit. That's all I can say. I hope he's legit, but I wouldn't hold my breath. That's just me.
Yeah. And one last thing, Mike. You know who Boris Johnson is, right?
Yes.
Okay, put him up side by side in a picture with Milei. It looked like they got the same barber. I think Stevie Wonder cut both their hair.
Yeah, Boris. That was a good one, man. Hey, man, appreciate you calling in, man, as always.
All right, Mike. Have a good night. Thanks for taking my call.
Be good. Yeah. Good stuff, man. Yeah. All right. Forgive me. I did miss some calls. Hopefully I hope I can get the calls in. Everything's working on my end. You see the number 313-462-0027. And while you guys are at it, hit the thumbs up button. Show your support for the channel. As much love with the thumbs up will be appreciated. And what else we got? So throw out some thoughts, ideas, chats, some topics in the chat, man. What we got going on? All right, we got somebody else joining us. Who we got here? Who we got, my friend? What's your name?
Hey, what's up, man? This is Joshua from New York, man. You hear me?
Joshua from New York. I got you, man. What's on your mind?
Hey, man, these fools is drunk, man. They high, man. They just worried about Friday night. They're not prepared to the future, man. I heard you talking about them bunkers that people are digging up, man, and people don't understand that this shit is really gonna hit the fan, man. I've been paying to this shit ever since I heard about Illuminati, Freemasons. I've been paying attention, man, and it seems like what they got for us is not freedom. It's not global citizenship. I think it's slavery, suffering, and depression, man. Even now, man, I watch your podcast all the time, man. Every live, every video, I give a thumbs up, all of that, man. But I wanted to say, hold on, let me get in the camera. I'm stocking up, man, day by day.
Okay.
Yeah, good. I don't know about the gold and silver yet, man, but I live in New York, so a lot of this stuff has got a lot. But I heard what you said. 3 days, you said the supermarket's gonna be empty.
Possibility. No guarantees of none of this. It's just speculation on what could play out if their agenda is accomplished. So I hope I'm wrong though.
You seen the movie? What's it called? It was Leave the World Behind.
Yeah, Left Behind. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Because I remember you talking about the economic crash and all that. And I'm thinking that there's gonna be something like that. But in New York, like I said, I think we was on here before. We had the migrants and all that coming here. I think they're gonna have everybody, because they got detention camps for the migrants. I think they're gonna put everybody in that migrant category. It's either you're gonna be, you're gonna be with the system, you're gonna cop out, or you're gonna be in the detention camp, man, FEMA camp, ready to be treated like a second-class citizen.
Yeah, or experimented on for whatever medical purposes they're going to try.
Good, man. So it's sad.
A lot of this stuff here, as far as the projections of and possibilities of what could be, have been talked about for decades now. So it's nothing new. What we got there?
Nah, this is Carol G shirt. I wanted to show you, to show off my. Man, I got a calendar too, man. I'm planning, man. People that don't got plans. You see it back there. They don't got plans. They're just thinking about the next day, man. You got to plan ahead. I was gonna say, aside from just being treated like second-class citizens, I honestly think that people don't realize, like, the people that made this country, the the slave owners, the landowners, they're selling it out to China, man. So people are already paying rent. They pay their rent every month. They don't get that money back. So
Let me ask you a question.
Because the wealth is being robbed from us every day. What happened?
Now with the immigrants, the invasion that's happening in the country. Of course, New York has welcomed them with open arms. They've been bust up there. So do you witness them day to day? You see them at all? It's just like there's certain parts.
Look, man. The police know, the people know. These guys, man, they're coming here. They're not bad. Not all of them are bad. Same way they say blacks are bad. Spanish people. No, not all of them are bad. They come here. They try to work. They get their little bike. They get their little delivery gig. They might do some maintenance. They might do some food. They might do some. Got a lot of migrants, Mexicans with kids. Venezuelans. They sell candy. They sell stuff on the train. But it's not what they think it is, man. It's not any real crime. It's not any real funny stuff. But what I'm saying is, the people that are here don't get those same benefits. So people that are here don't get free housing. They don't get free food. They don't get a stimulus check from the government because they don't even have the same benefits. These people are getting benefits here, and it's not like there's a classism going on because a lot of times people don't realize that the classism is true. The way capitalism works, somebody has to work, somebody has to make a product so that somebody that already has money, already has worked, not pun intended, or can switch over. Like somebody can be sitting there, like a rapper. Rapper could sit there, have no actual talent. These rappers don't got no talent. And they'll sit there and they'll be able to go buy jewelry. They'll be able to go buy maybe the best crafted suit you can talesman. What's that? A tailor can make.
Yeah.
But that tailor won't even be able to afford the same suit. I just hope these people know what to buy when the time comes.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you. Appreciate you checking in with me, man. Good to meet you, and definitely continue to do what you do. Stay prayed up, and more power to you, man. Thanks for calling in. Be good. Yeah, good stuff, man. It's good to connect with people, man. In New York, good old New York. Yeah, phone lines are open. You see the number, give me a call, or the link to the face-to-face is in the bio. Let me know in the description. Let me know what's going on, and let's keep it moving. What else we got here? There's a lot of other topics I want to touch on, man. Let me see here. What else? Should I do it? I don't know. What else we got going on? If you haven't, definitely hit the thumbs up button. Show your support for the channel. I'm going to continue to remind people of that just because I'm not sure if it helps anymore. But then again, when I check out the stats on the back end, it does help to know the people who do drop in, hit that thumbs up and show a little love. So, okay, here's another little topic. Let me see here. This is another topic I think is worth touching on. It looks like, so this is the official documentation from the Office of Texas Governor. Governor Abbott issues a statement on Texas constitutional right to self-defense. So this came out today. Gregory Abbott today on Texas constitutional right to defend and protect itself as President Joe Biden continues to attack Texas and refuse to perform his duties to secure the border. The executive branch of the United States has a constitutional duty to enforce federal laws protecting states, including the immigration laws on the books right now. So basically, he's letting D.C. know that they're failing at their job, which is on purpose. So therefore, if they won't defend his state, he has to do it himself. So what does that mean? He is continuing to move forward. So here's another little excerpt. It says, Governor Abbott has declared his state is under invasion, citing Biden's failure to enforce immigration laws and record influx of illegal immigrants exceeding 6 million in 3 years. He asserted that Texas has a constitutional right to defend itself, and so that's what they're going to do. So more wires and more, I guess self-defense is what it's called. So here's the next question, is that as long as this invasion, as is being stated, continues to take place, that basically means that the U.S. is at war. Like, one of our states is being invaded by foreigners, even though it's not a military action. But once again, I would assume a good chunk of those people coming across from wherever, they have military experience, and they could low-key be military troops, just not in uniform, disguised as civilians until they get here, and then they get their gear and their ammunitions and whatever else they're sent here for. So technically speaking, those could be soldiers coming through right now, we won't know. So at what point do Texas say enough, and then we start talking about seceding from the union or whatever type talk that was talked about a couple of years ago. So could Texas be forced to really consider whether or not they want to remain a part of this chaos? So we'll see. But Mr. Yashiba back at us again. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, Mike, it's my birthday today, so I'm wishing myself a happy birthday on your program.
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you. I wanted to ask a question about the show tonight. Your abbreviation that you're talking about, that chart, BT, I'm not familiar with what that stands for. And is that different than the overnight reverse repo market? And I put a chart link in the Telegram or in the chat. I'd like you to take a look at that overnight reverse repo and just talk about it. Could that mean that there is actually less demand for the what we'll call the naughty window, which may indicate that banks are in better shape? I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there.
Okay, good question. So right here on the screen, let me pull this up here. Give me 1 second. Let me put you in this as well. So right here, this is the BTFP. This is that special purpose vehicle that was created in March of last year when the banks in Silicon Valley Bank, First Bank all went under. And they created a program to provide liquidity to banks that were underwater. As the debt obligations were coming due, people were withdrawing their funds. They needed their funds back. So the currency was basically lent to these banks in the form of them being able to deposit the underwater debt obligations of, i.e. bonds, to them in exchange for cash to make whole on deposits. So this is the program I'm talking about, where it was designed for smaller banks, but I assume a lot of big banks have been taking advantage of oil. So this is what is supposed to come to an end in its current form in March. And then to the reverse repo situation, which is what a lot of people talk about, that kicked off in September of 2019. No, that's a repo market. The reverse repo market is the influx of funds that were giving to the banks when all the stimulus, was it 3, 4, 5, whatever trillion it was, came into the banks. They then took the capital, put it in the Federal Reserve account situation. That ended up becoming the capital that was left on hand, earning interest on behalf of the banks. And then them withdrawing it is what's happening right now. You know what I'm saying? So it's so whatever, is it 600 billion or so left now? And so to my knowledge, the funds that have been draining from that particular format there has been used for a variety of reasons, I'd assume, which happens to be the stock market we're seeing rally right now, the share backs, the stock buybacks that all the companies are experiencing, the banks are doing. And so it has a purpose to it now, but I don't think it's like, I don't think it's going to equate to something good for the banking sector at the end of the day. It's in my opinion, but I'm not like an expert in this, but that's just me putting together all the things I've gathered.
So if you can bring that chart up, because it's dropping significantly, and I thought that I heard Rafi, the endgame investor, do a program or have a chart on this dropping, and it kind of corresponds with that March date that you're discussing on the other side of this.
Yeah,
with the charts that you've brought up today. Yes, this is the chart I wanted you to comment on. And what's it tell us?
So this is from March 16, 2021, all the way through. So March 16th, 2021. This was the first or the second, stimulus. We had the CARE Act, the Carrying Act, whatever the acts were. It's like 3 or 4 or 5 different acts that was passed as a part of the stimulus measures to get liquidity into the market, to prop things up, to get checks to everybody. So as that currency was brought into existence, it was flooded into the banks. And so these funds, in my understanding, was the total accumulation of funds that was being parked now from the balance sheet of the banks into the coffers at the Federal Reserve, and they were earning interest on this. They were earning way more interest than it was to keep it, in their own coffers, not doing nothing, not earning anything. So they gave it back to the Fed. So as the stimulus packages came, with all the CARES Act, this act, that act, all our checks they start putting the funds here, and it peaked in January-ish. This is the highest it got, December 30th, 2022, and then the banking situation happened right about here in March. So the banking situation happened. Banks start having problems. The big banks are underwater now. So now they're starting to drain some of this capital that belongs to them because it was what they have. It's all depositors' funds for the most part. But they're starting to drain this now, in my opinion, to meet obligations on their end as they're experiencing trouble because the big banks' funds are here, but the small regional banks are on the other graph. They're the one borrowing now from the new BTFP fund, and which is sending that upwards. So the big banks are withdrawing, and the smaller banks are borrowing more. Can I get what I'm saying?
No.
Okay, so let me try to summarize it. So, as I'm talking this out, I'm trying to make sure it makes sense to myself as well. So, this represents the holdings of the J.P. Morgans, Goldman Sachs, the big boys, the GSIBs, where all the deposit funds flowed during the stimulus checks. It all happened to flow its way to the big banks. The big banks took their funds, parked it at the Federal Reserve. So this is what we're looking at here. At the peak of this, it was $2.29 trillion that was parked at the Fed, which were depositors' funds from the two big to fail banks ish. As the banking crisis started to happen, they started withdrawing from the Federal Reserve account that they were receiving interest on to meet obligations on their end. The big banks. Why?
Yeah.
Commercial real estate's underwater, and they still insolvent because the bond issue is underwater. So they're getting the mark to market. They're getting an escape there, and there's probably other things, derivatives they got to cover, swap line. I mean, this is a lot of things I don't even know about. I would assume they have to cover with these funds that they're now withdrawing. I don't know. I'm not too savvy in that regards there. But go ahead.
So what does it mean when it gets to zero?
That's where a lot of people are making a big fuss about it. I'm thinking like this was all stimulus-induced currency came out of nowhere to make it appear that the economy was stable because this is depositors' funds in a sense. So when they get back to zero, will we be at an equilibrium or something like that to where, because once again, everybody still got deposits, but there's no real there's not enough currency there to meet obligations for those depositors there. And then the bond market is the primary bloodline of the banking system, and they're still underwater. So it's going to be a lot of insolvencies, a lot of debt that's not made good on. And I don't know. That's where I think we're going to find out. Yeah, but it's supposed to be around March-ish. So between this going down, however low it goes, and then this basically coming to a halt. Like literally they're saying come March 11, because it's been going up incrementally since. So this is November of last year. They've been every week they've been taking out billions, and all of a sudden in 2 months they're supposed to say nope, no more funds for regional banks and smaller banks and whoever else was allowed to. I think some institutions, I think 1 or 2 foreign companies or foreign entities were allowed to get in here too. So I don't think they published a full list of institutions that were allowed in on this, because this is literally like a lifeline that was extended for the year, and it's come to an end. So once again, this is all they're making this up on the fly. Like this is all emergency type measures to keep the system from being exposed for what it is. The fact that there's nothing there but ones and zeros on screens.
Okay, so say that this continues. Do you see a lot of regional banks folding because they don't have access to the capital?
I do. I would say that would be the case because there have been a consolidation of banks already. Like but like it was 30,000 20 years ago. Now it's like 15,000. And then if this event unfolds with this liquidity crisis that appears to be in the works, there might go from 10,000 now, how many of there is now, to down to 3,000. And those 3,000 being like predominantly GSIB type banks and their subsidiaries or something like that. So
okay. Well, I mean, thinking about this a little bit deeper, do we know these regional banks on what they're insuring? Because that FDIC amount, remember when that came out that basically they don't have that much in the cookie jar to help out. So wouldn't they have to, if it's not insured, wouldn't they have to go to the Federal Reserve and create more currency?
I would assume that to be the case. I would imagine, but they can't just loosely, willy-nilly create with no congressional approval. They at least they weren't supposed to back in the day. But then every event that occurs in the economy, the federal government steps in and say, we need to get funds to the people. Now we got the whatever act, get money to the people act. 2020, 2025, get money to the people act. We need to borrow $4 trillion. Okay, we'll borrow it, but who's going to receive it into that? China not coming, Russia not coming, and people not coming to acquire that debt. So hell, we're gonna just send it right to the Fed. We'll send it to the open market. Let the banks that are part of the Federal Reserve cahoots, they'll borrow the debt from us, and then they'll take it to the Fed. The Fed will monetize it. They'll send it back, deposit to our accounts at all the GSIBs, and then we'll get people checks. That's kind of how it always has gone, according to the way I've been following this stuff. So.
Well, some of these regional banks are publicly traded. You'd think that you'd almost be taking a short position on them.
And people who know how and are waiting on stuff like this to happen, believe me, like it's going to be a lot of opportunity for people who are, specialized in that field there. So, but then again, it's a gamble because we could assume that there's a lifeline to all these banks that are probably going to be unwound at some point. But then again, we can't determine who's going to be the winners and losers. They do. Just like not Wells Fargo, but the banks that, were chosen to be disposed of during the great financial crises, they pick one by one, like who, we don't want you around. So bam, you blow up. We'll take your assets for 10 cents on a dollar. And regional banks, we'll take your assets for, 5 cents on a dollar, bring it our way. You know what I'm saying? Because the system's designed for them in a sense. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they did it with the oil frackers when they broke those guys. They knew the price that they needed oil to be at $50 a barrel, and then they just liquidated and took the assets through bankruptcy.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems to be common now. Like, whatever they can do to make it appear that they're helping the people while also, just getting more in their possession and leaving other people high and dry, man. But hey, I got some more people here. Let me get some more people, man.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Hey, thanks for calling and bringing that to the forefront, and hopefully that made some kind of sense to whoever was listening. So
it did. Thank you. Good night.
Yep. Hello. What we got here, man?
Yeah, this is Maloney Investments. I was telling you about the Phoenix earlier.
Okay, Maloney Investments. How you doing, man?
Yeah, but you can call me Troy from OKC.
Troy from OKC. All right.
Yeah, man. It's nice to finally meet you, man. Man, you do a great justice to the community, man. Thank you for all the good work you're doing. No, man, I just wanted to give a quick rundown on what I was saying in the chat earlier about the Phoenix event. I'm about a year in. I don't know a lot about it. I'm still doing my research, but I mean, the evidence is immense. I mean, it's amazing. It happens every 38 years, supposedly. The last time it was supposed to happen was in 1902. The evidence, and people in the community can actually go do their own research. But in 1902, 1903, 1904 was like the first of all type of different industries, things being created, technologies coming out. All of a sudden in 1902, 1903, 1904. 1902 was the time that the last event was supposed to happen. And I'm talking about mud flood.
Hold on 1 second. Okay, so you say event, like, so is this, we're talking about the solar flares from the sun type?
They're saying this thing. They're saying this thing does everything. I mean, diseases, solar flare. I mean, takes out all electronics. I mean, anything you can think of, this thing has done in the past. And every
the Phoenix event is what is like labeled. I'm looking at the Phoenix. I'm looking at the Phoenix event just to get like some type of article or something. But I type in the Phoenix event solar flare, And
Exactly.
I'm
A
not getting
lot of
nothing with
people are
that.
saying it starts as like a red dot in the sky, is what some civilizations of the past that have documented say. It starts as a red dot in the sky, and it just gets bigger and bigger as the years go by, and you can start seeing it from everywhere in the world. And
Right.
you know, I'm a believer of Christ. You know, I believe in the Bible. I believe in, you know, Christianity. I'm not really a Christian. I don't say I am. But I believe in Christ. I believe in everything he did. I don't think he came to make a religion. I think he came to teach us how to treat each other better, you know,
Right.
and
Right.
honor thy father. But besides that, that's my little religious kick. But besides that, you know, this stuff is very interesting because like the guys were saying before that were speaking on here, you know, what are the elites doing? You know, why are they making all these bunkers all of a sudden out of nowhere? Why are they saying great reset in 2030? Why are you going to own everything and own nothing
Heavy.
and yeah, you know, I mean, all this stuff going on. Like, why is all this happening all of a sudden? And then about a year ago, I hear about the Phoenix event, and I start going down this rabbit hole of the Phoenix event. I'm like, dude, this has happened many and many of times before, and nobody's talking about it. And it's kind of weird. But what I was going to tell you guys, and I'll get off, Mike, is archaics. I don't know if you're okay with me shouting out another YouTube channel, but archaics. His name is Jason. He's the guy that started, and this guy's done so much research. It's insane. I mean, anybody that debates this guy, I pray for him. You know, but he believes in Christ as well, and I mean, everything he's saying is with this Phoenix event is biblical. It's all biblical. It's all based in everything that Christ was saying when he said, I'm coming from the sky and you'll see me from the sky. And I mean, it all leads to this Phoenix event. And they're saying
what's his
May
name?
of 2040. His name is Jason, and the name of the YouTube channel is Archaics. That's ARCHI. I'll put it in the chat. I forget how to spell it. But yeah, Archaics. And I mean, he's from the time when basically humans first began to now. He's basically broke it all down. And it's all chronological. So everything is being done off of calendars. And they're saying the calendar that we go off of, Mike, is not the right calendar. And the reason why is the elites know about this event that's going to happen every 138 years. And they don't want us to know about it. But they know about it.
Okay, somebody says, Mike, put it. Okay, so TB, I see you. I'm not ignoring you. Will, it says, somebody says, Mike, put in 1902 Phoenix. 1902 Phoenix. So I'm going to see what comes up with that. Oh, no, so that's what, like, 1902 Phoenix. Let's see what happens. Let me see.
The first skyscraper in the world was made in 1902.
1902.
And it literally has a phoenix on the building. It's just, it's weird stuff like that. It's just.
So Phoenix. So am I? So want me to spell it the same way as well? Because
you can spell it the way Phoenix is spelled, like Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing, but I ain't been getting much.
Yeah, that's what that's what I was kind of trying to explain a while ago. Like when I did my own research beyond what Archaics or Jason has put out for you to look for, you can't find this stuff anywhere. And like he said, it's all off of the calendars. So the calendars that we're going off of, they're not even the real calendars. Supposedly, yeah, they're, you know, we go off of the sun. That's how we say our day is a day and, you know, our year is a year. It's all, they went off of moons back in the day. Like back in
they use astrology. They use astrology heavily because I saw they had. So
exactly.
Yeah, we've been reduced to depending upon NASA and people who have telescopes to look up in the sky, but they didn't have the type of technology supposedly.
And they're telling us what they want us to know. I mean, like you were saying the other day, you made a good point the other day. I was listening. You said none of us has never been outer space, and none of us has ever been to the bottom of the ocean. I think you were saying it's just like we're going off of what these people are telling us. We're just going off what they're telling us. You know, I get tired of people who, you know, I'm one of those people who I have an open mind. I'm not saying the world is flat. I'm not saying the world is round, but I'm saying I don't know because I've never been out to the outer space to see around Earth or to
Right.
see a flat Earth. I don't know.
It takes faith. It takes faith to believe something you have not seen. And
Exactly.
it's easier to do in the natural realm when somebody with a PhD say that this is real. Oh, okay, sure. But then when you look at a book that's, been here before me and you and everybody else, and we say, nah, he didn't really rise from the dead. Come on, man. That's fictional. Oh, okay,
Exactly.
well, you gotta believe in something. So
go back to the moon. Just show us that you can go back to the moon. Just show us that. Just show,
yeah, and the next mission that they announced is postponed to 2026.
You made that point the other day.
Exactly. So hey,
they can't prove it, and it's just, but that was really my kick. I just want to kind of get the community's minds going because, all this stuff is happening real fast for us. And a lot of people are just kind of confused. And, when I first found out about the Phoenix, like I said, it kind of just dotted every I and crossed every T for a lot of things that I've been thinking in my life, as far as like religion and everything, so.
Oh. Yeah,
but
so here is this the channel here?
That's Archaics, yeah. And
right.
I'm telling you guys, I mean, everything he talks about, he verifies it with research and just all the stuff that the astrologers and everybody goes off of from the past. He uses that stuff, but he uses stuff that actually like is verifiable. He doesn't just go off of his own opinion. He goes off of what people in the past have wrote down from these ancient civilizations, and he makes sense of it. It's just like the Sphinx. He showed a video the other day of the Sphinx, and a lot of people don't know this, but the Sphinx, the head doesn't even match the body. I didn't even realize this until he showed it, and I'm like, wow, the head doesn't match. It's too small for the body of the statue. Just look at it. It's weird. But what they're saying is all this stuff was from these cataclysms, from this Phoenix event that happens every 138 years. It buries everything.
Yeah.
So
and I've seen a lot of video footage now of like, them doing excavations and seeing different layers of buildings. It's like
exactly.
Yeah. So I've seen
They haven't even been to the bottom of the pyramids. They haven't even been to the bottom of the Sphinx. They don't really know what they're looking at. They're just discovering things, like we're all discovering things as we go with the technology that we have,
Yeah.
And
so yeah, those
that
pictures,
was it, man.
Those pictures make me think. So like it's always something to make you say, huh? Like how have they rewritten history to what extent? And that's why the truth hurts. But then again, we may not find out much, but all it takes just a little bit to blow your mind. You know what I'm saying? So that's why
I think with the information, I think with the information age where we're at, Mike, I think like this new generation coming up, they just have so much information at their fingertips. You won't be able to lie to it. You won't be able to lie to them like they were in the past.
Or to be easier to lie because now you can make it up artificially with AI and everything between. So you won't even know who's real on the other end.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, let's say internet was probably a psyop from the beginning.
Oh, 100%. I've talked about that before, like how the military literally came up with the internet purposes for connecting the world for consumption's sake, 5G on top of that, cell phones to connect us. And I was thinking about this the other day, like even for myself, like I do so much scrolling to where it has literally ruined my attention span because I can't hold a single thought without like getting an idea, getting a thought. So like it's hard. I have to intentionally dial in. If not, I'm gone. And it's like, dog.
And we're all like that. We're all getting turned like that. Like we're all like that. Attention spans, like it's just like nothing. Like my son, I can barely get him to focus. And it's just he grew up with tablets and iPhones and
Hey man.
But I appreciate you, Mike, for taking me in, man, and let me talk, man. And I'll get off of here and let you get some more calls, man.
Appreciate you, man. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. You too, man. Bye.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Oh, man. Some good back and forth, man. Yeah, make sure you guys subscribe, man. Hit that thumbs up button. Show your love for the channel. Getting a lot of interesting perspectives tonight, a lot of participation. That's what a talk show is all about. So I appreciate everybody for blessing me with your presence as always. And the phones are still available. We on here for a couple minutes. I ain't denying no calls. Feel free to add into the conversation, challenge us or whatever, I'm all game. Oh, what else we got here? Anything else in the chat? Archaic also talks about the 7-7, about the 7. The first seal was COVID. Second seal was water. Will be open this year. Okay. I mean, once again, like I'll entertain these type of discussions, but once again, like I just find it hard to believe that it's that clear cut and dry where a person has that much biblical discernment where they're calling things as clear cut and dry as like saying that the seals are open, because when the seals are open, let's not forget the trumpets must sound as well, and I'd assume that God would definitely want people to take notice. Like it's not like okay, they'll know but then they won't see it. I believe when the tribulation period starts, it's going to be obvious. Like it'll be the things that are scheduled to take place are obvious, like to the point where ain't gonna be no suspicion, ain't gonna be no guessing to this. Where it's just, so that's why I'm like, yeah, like I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we're there yet. But then again, I know this is all a part of getting there. But I ain't heard a trumpet blow, and also, I'm more of a premillennialist, so I'm like, okay, like I'm also anticipating on the Lord returning in the sky and to reclaim what's His, which is His body, aka the church. And so I ain't, even if I don't make the first ride, I don't know nobody else in my circle that got called up yet. So in a good sense, you know what I'm saying. So, but then again, I'm all game. Jeremiah 16:16, for the elites thinking they will escape in their bunkers. Jeremiah 16:16. All right, let me pull some scripture up here. And that's the thing, like, I mean, to be honest with you, you really can't fault them, because at the very core of our existence is self-preservation. And so if you have either done well in this life or been favored because you've sold your soul and you have millions, billions, trillions, whatever at your disposal, there's this quest for man to want to live forever and to play God, to be God, to develop the CRISPR, the genome therapy to try to extend their life. And so those are clearly people who value everything they are based upon what they've accomplished to this point, to where it's only natural that if you have the funds, somebody say, hey, I can help extend your life, or I can help build this for you to keep you away from civil war, a nuclear bomb. Sure. I mean, I would do it too if I had the type of bread, just because why not? Like it'd be a fun experience, I'm sure, to be able to build something like that, to have it. And more than likely, and okay, so here's another thing. Oh, okay, man. This is another thing. Let me get this. Here's another. So this is just another little scripture. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. But anyway, it's the verse that talks about the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. And so regardless of what man's best efforts are, God has a way of getting what his people need, how they need it, when they need it, when they're operating and being led by his spirit and his timing to accomplish what he desires. So even amongst all the chaos, there's something about being in favor or having favor on your life that you can't describe or explain, that'll put you in a position where the world around you might be crumbling, but yet you might be doing just fine. And literally, having a testimony amongst all the chaos around the world. That's kind of the perspective that I would like to have and take and believe God for, despite all the bunker talk and all this other stuff, just because, I mean, tribulation will come. It has to come. But then again, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to impact everybody the same and equally. And that's kind of where I'm like, Lord, help me to remain faithful to your cause and to do your work, i.e. just by keeping your word and just my love for you on my lips, and let the world know. You know what I'm saying? Let me sow some seeds of positive biblical revelation through your spirit to others for your glory. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm just rambling at this point. Somebody says, call and no answer. I ain't missed no calls in a minute. Phone is open. I ain't missed no calls. So forgive me if I did miss you. It's not on purpose. It is not on purpose. But due to the fact we are an hour and 24 minutes, that's longer than I've gone in quite some time, but I've been having fun because there's been a lot of participation. And as always, I'm about to get ready to dial it back for this evening. We can go forever, not forever, for a long time. And I might do that. But then again, if I do that, I'm going to need a lot more participation. I'm going to need you guys to face me, call me, and blow me up. So I'm not here just talking because my thoughts, as you see, I sniff, I get a thought through the breeze and I just run with it. I do that enough throughout my day. All right. Well, why is my bunker a casket? Oh man, Mason, how you doing, man? I can't understand why no one is talking about Lahaina, Hawaii, East Palestine. How are these Americans surviving? Yeah, those are, so man, aces up silver. There is literally my father recommended that I actually come up with a full billboard chart of all the events that took place in 2023 from January to December that was thrown our way, that is a main news subject for 2 or 3 days, then they're on to the next. And then go back and check up on those events and see where people are at. And because the Hawaii situation is a problem. I do keep up on it somewhat when I see stuff to come across, through the Twitter sphere, and how insurance companies aren't allowed people to receive funds from their policies to rebuild because the government has basically taken over that land and said that it's going to be a memorial to where they're not allowing citizens to actually have access to their land, i.e. you own nothing and you'll be happy with it, but they're not happy because they're not getting paid and they can get access to their lands. They're doing all types of GoFundMes out there, but once again, they're not even necessarily allowed to go visit their ruins of their residence, of their property in some areas. So it's clearly criminal. It's clearly a part of the whole agenda to build back better and to use these events as national examples of what the globalists will love to create with 15-minute cities and restrictive movements and yada, yada, yada. So you guys know where this is going. So yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about. And that's where, like, doing a show, we really can't get to everything, but it's just more so today's headlines, whatever gets our attention today, and we can build from there. So that's why I depend upon you guys to bring something to the table via topics so we can all stay plugged in. And the biggest thing is, so this is the biggest thing right now. Whatever subject we talk about, whether it's, today's news, last year's news, catastrophes, any unfortunate event where lives are lost. There's families that are impacted, lives disrupted. And if for my believers, like literally, those are things that when it comes to your mind, take it before the Lord in prayer, because prayer does change things. Prayer is the best connection we have with our divine source for him to get involved in earthly affairs. And so take it to him and let's pray on some things personally, add it to your personal prayer list of things to, just put before the throne and let him know that you're aware of it and ask him to guide you and lead you however and whatever way he wants to. So yeah, let's get into more prayer. Prayer is an action plan. It's an action step that changes things. If the body of Christ in its entirety came together in unity and prayed about certain aspects of civilization, it's good to say God would, intervene in some things. He can't stop it because it's up to us, because we are the rulers of this domain, but he can prolong some things or turn things around in our favor. I believe that. I do believe that. All right, people. Yeah, this was fun tonight. I enjoyed myself. Hope you guys have fun. If you haven't, hit the thumbs up button. As always, all the information you need, all the resources, all the, everything you need is in the description. Make sure you guys hit the thumbs up, hit the bell, and, connect with your boy. And if you would like to support the work that I do here, the links are also in the description. And it does help because, as I started off talking about, the censorship will pick up. Therefore, you may not get notified even if you hit the bell. So, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Bless your boy. I appreciate you. Anyway, be blessed, be safe. I'll see you guys.